Is very exciting. This is Saturday Live with Richard Coles and Sian Williams. Imagine waking up to discover you know nothing about your life. You don't know who friends or family are. You have no recollection of your past, and the only person who can help is the only one you recognise, your twin. You might have read recently about Marcus and Alex Lewis. At 18, Alex woke from a coma caused by a motorbike accident. He relied on Marcus, his identical twin, to tell him about what their early life was like. Years later, Alex discovered Marcus had left a crucial part out, that their childhood was dark and disturbing. They'd been abused by their mother and others, and something Alex particularly is still coming to terms with. Alex visited us on Saturday Live in 2010 to tell us how the story of that abuse began to emerge, and the interview was transformative for both brothers. Alex wanted to write a book about their experience, although Marcus was at first very reluctant. Earlier, they both came into our studio, and I asked Marcus first what his experience was of growing up.
We had a very strange childhood. My real father was killed on bringing us back from hospital in the car, so we were a week old or a few days old. And then my mother put us into a home pretty much a couple of months after that, we understand, for about a year. But then my mother remarried, and she started sexually abusing us when we were sort of around 6 or 7. It's difficult to know. And I think it just got steadily worse. And my father, who she'd just married, was a very old-fashioned kind of guy. He was very much children are seen and not heard, stand up when he comes in a room, go and shake his hand, good night, and that kind of stuff.
This is the man who referred to you as Jill's dim twins.
Jill's dim twins, yes.
Our stepfather.
Yes.
Why did he say that?
Because we were severely dyslexic, but Alex and I being very close twins, we lived in a bubble, so it's very difficult for anybody to actually get into that bubble and affect us. I always remember we were quite happy. We had our own world, we had our own language, you know, as long as we had each other, everything else was acceptable. Well, not acceptable, but... Well, the other thing of, you know, I'm nearly 50 now, and you suddenly realise that when you're children, you accept things for what they are. So even the abuse, and it just seems to be the norm. I mean, we used to... You know, our mother and father didn't want us to live in the house, and we used to live in a shed in the garden. No heating, no toilet, nothing. Well, we thought that was perfectly normal.
And you describe your mother as eccentric, sometimes life-enhancing, which seems strange in the context of what she was doing to you both as children. Yeah,
it's a very strange thing because, you know, she was the life and soul of the party. If you met her today, she was 6 foot tall, very loud, very gregarious, fun. You know, you should come into a party and she was the one making all the noise. Everybody loved her. But she had a very devious side. I mean, you know, our stepfather, for all his faults, and he was a very callous man, he didn't know anything about the abuse. Being the old-fashioned person he was, he wouldn't have accepted that. He was quite happy to be cruel, but I think that would have been a step too far for him.
Of course, I'm not talking to you, Alex, about your childhood, because all the memories of your childhood have effectively been given to you by Marcus, because you didn't have any memory of 18 years when you woke up after that.
So after the accident, I mean, it was start your life again from scratch, have to relearn everything. I mean, it was, at the beginning, obviously it was basics. This is your house and your parents.
But you didn't recognise your mother when you first woke up. You only recognised Marcus, didn't you?
So I woke up, I saw my brother, I said his name, and then my mother was at the side of the bed, so she was getting overexcited because I'd just woken up out of a coma. And she started freaking me out, so I didn't know who she was. I said to Marcus, "Who's that lady?" He said, "That's our mother." And I'd never met her before.
So there was no resonance?
No. Seems amazing, really. The only point of reference I had was my twin brother. Absolutely nothing else.
And Marcus, while you were telling Alex a lot about what had happened in your childhood, you chose to not tell him about the most disturbing bit of it, which was, of course, the sexual abuse by your mother, and also the fact that your mother, as you describe it, passed you around to her friends as well. Why did you choose not to tell him that?
Well, choose is a very arbitrary word in the sense that, you know, when it started, I showed him the house and I showed him where he lived and his work and his girlfriend. We had to go very slowly. So for the first 2-3 months, it was very basic stuff. But then what happened was tricky questions arise, and then I started to colour it in. I was painting a picture of our childhood as not being the most wonderful childhood on the planet, but it was being nice. It was happy, it was okay, everything was fine. And the more I did it, the more I got into it, and then I got to a point where I realised that, you know, I had to stick with the programme now. I got into it, And the more I thought about it, the more I thought that was an amazing gift to give him, which was the gift of a happy childhood. So I chose to do that. And I then swore to myself, after I'd been doing it for about a year, that I'd made a pledge to myself that I would never, never, never break that pledge. And it's not until the writing of this book that I've fully broken that pledge.
How do you feel about that?
I feel relief. I feel light. I feel free. I've been having it for forever. And it's gone, which is an amazing thing. And I'm a reluctant companion on this journey of the book. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get involved, for the simple reason that the book would obviously lead to that end. And so therefore I tried to stop it. But he asked me to do it with him, and of course I said yes, because I love him to bits and he's my brother. And so I went with it, and it wasn't until I honestly believed, in my naivety, that I thought I could get to the end of this book without really telling them what happened. I admitted to him when he was 32 that his mother had abused him, but I left it at that. So I hadn't given them the full complexity of it.
32, was that the first time you knew,
That was
Alex?
the first time I knew it. It was actually our younger brother, Oliver, who...
This is your half-brother.
Our half-brother. He brought it to Marcus's attention first. So he brought it to the family. But it was Oliver who then pointed out, yes, this is the case. So he was the one who confirmed it, and Marcus confirmed it with a yes, a full stop. That was it.
Did you ask him for any further details?
Yes, I did, and he didn't give me any.
Did that make you angry?
Yeah, it made me go on a search, and that was where my quest started. And that is what a lot of this is about, was the journey I then took for the next 13 years to try and uncover what was real and what wasn't real, who was real, what was false, what part of my life is a lie, what part is not. And it's just been an utter confusion of non-reality, of memories, of what some people remember and what some people don't.
And of course you couldn't go to your mother, because by the time you learnt of the sexual abuse in your childhood,
she was already dead. Yeah.
So
none of this happened till after she died. And it was her death itself that provoked the questions, because everybody was upset, as any family would be when your mother dies. But over the course of time, it was quite apparent that especially Marcus was not. So that got my mind thinking that something's amiss here, something he was hiding.
And were there other people that either of you knew of that were taking part in the abuse of you both?
I don't know. I've never been told that information.
Most of them were pretty sort of nameless, faceless men. I mean, we would just be dropped off in people's houses, but only on our own, never together. And then she'd come back in the morning and pick us up.
In one bit of the book, where a conversation is transcribed between you, you talk about Alex having a free pass, almost, because all your memory was erased.
It's a bone of contention between the two of us. He sees it as a free pass because I lost my childhood trauma. I lost my dyslexic trauma, which was quite severe for the both of us. So I could progress faster than Marcus on the learning ability of learning to read and write, of which we couldn't by the time we'd left school, barely read and write. But I didn't have the trauma that we had before, so I could do that much quicker.
Because really, and that is why you feel you're progressing much faster than Marcus on that level.
Dyslexic children will understand that, because
it's a theory that we have that's not scientifically proven in any way at all. It's a twin thing between us. But I passionately believe that 30% of dyslexia is the fear of dyslexia itself, and the amount of bullying and being told you're stupid and rejection that children have adds to the fear, which then when you're actually trying to... I mean, I was in a bank a month ago and I had to ring my wife because I freaked out because I had to fill out a form and I couldn't do it and I had a panic attack and she had to come and help me. And that's the pure fear of dyslexia.
I don't have that.
He doesn't have that. So he's been given a free pass on the dyslexic front, on the very sort of abusive way that my father ran the house, and with my mother. So it's 3 levels. So I call it a free pass, he doesn't.
No, I called it so I had to restart my life at 18 and relearn myself, and restart my life at 32 and relearn myself again, which was even harder. So my journey, I feel, has been incredibly hard. I wouldn't call it a free pass.
So you would prefer the detail, however difficult?
Yes, I think I need to digest it, and I think I need to know the detail.
It strikes me that despite this childhood, which is full of abuse and unhappiness, and a stepfather who put you outside and you had to live in a shed, and these things that are your background, you're hearing for the first time,
Yeah.
Alex, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, a lot of that I knew bits and pieces of it.
How do you build it up? How do you construct it?
Just slowly. It's taken me 13 years to all those bits of information I've had. It's just this last tranche I haven't had, and that's been the most shocking part has come at the end. The most shocking part has come at the end.
And are you able to deal with the shocking part in the same way as you were speaking about how you were dealing with the severe dyslexia, which is because you don't have the very detailed memory of what happened, perhaps you are moving faster in dealing with it and getting on with it than perhaps Marcus is able to.
Because it is a story, after all. But I am getting emotional. My wife says I'm a much more emotional person. I have an emotional attachment to things on an intellectual level. So it affects me in different ways. I don't actually have the memory of it, but I'm now satisfied I know who I am and what about my life, which I didn't before.
You're both happily married. You have children. You're a very successful businessman.
Yeah.
I hear you run a lovely hotel in Africa, in Zanzibar.
Yeah.
So how did you get from there to here?
I think we've always been together. We've done everything together. We've always done everything in a positive way. You just have to departmentalise things and just decide that, you're going to get on with your life and do the best you can. I think being dyslexic is almost been a bit of a thankful thing for us, because it's such a difficult thing to live with, that you really have to deal with that on a daily basis. Whereas this abuse is appalling as it is, and it is, it is awful. It did happen to us in the past. And you can put it into a box, and you don't have to deal with it on a daily basis. Or rather, I don't. I mean, I've managed to just put it to one side and accept that that's something that happened to me. But I'm still alive. I've still got my arms. I've still got my legs.
A lot of people can't do that.
A lot of people can't, unfortunately, and it is like having a limb cut off, and takes people forever or never to get rid of it. But I managed to do that because I had enough trouble trying to work out how to do things with my dyslexia.
Is that the same way you feel about it?
Yes. No, it is. A lot of it's been luck and being in the right place at the right time and making the right judgment calls, and the rest of it's just been determination to show everyone that despite what's happened to us in our life, that we can still come out of it the other end and have a normal life, as normal as we think it is, be happily married and have a regular job.
And have each other.
Yeah, and ultimately have each other. Indeed.
Alex and Marcus Lewis. The book they've written about their experiences with Joanna Hodgkin is called Tell Me Who I Am.
It's coming up to 20 to 10, and this is Saturday.